Today we're talking about moving to Florida and how that can be challenging, and things you need to know if you're doing that. We're getting after that next. Hey everybody, my name's Craig Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida, and if you're looking for a channel to tell you a little bit about what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell to make sure you're notified every time, and maybe leave a comment down below about some things you'd like to know more about. I'm getting calls from people every day asking questions about what it's like to move to Florida and how I might be able to help them. So if you've got a question that you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. Today we're going to talk about the market, the real estate market here in Southwest Florida and other parts of Florida as well. We're going to talk about some safety ratings. There's always questions about that. We're going to talk about even school safety, some of the things that are going on in our area, construction issues, time delays, all those things that you'd want to know about if you're considering moving to this area. And heck, we're going to even touch on a little bit of weather and traffic just because that's a topic that's talked about all the time, and you may have a little input yourself. So if you hear something that sounds a little intriguing or maybe a little off, go ahead and comment down below, give your opinion of it so that others can share in that. Okay, so right now, our real estate market is showing some signs of a little bit of slowing, but I don't know it so much because of the market changing as it is time of year. I've been in this business going on 18 years now, and one thing I can tell you is that this time of year, where we're going between August and September, kids go back to school, parents have to go back to work because they were staying with the kids when they were off of school, and getting back into the flow of things, finishing up vacations. That's where the lull comes from. But you know what's coming next? Season. Our season down here is going to drive things nuts again. And that's just what we expect. It's par for the course. So if you are considering still purchasing a home, you've got to get your feet in and start getting into the process, understanding what it looks like, keeping track of what the prices are doing, and go ahead and reach out and get some of your questions answered so you know what to expect as you're moving through the process. Now, I mentioned the time of year is the reason for this slight slowdown. Builders are starting to experience some other things. Among them are cancellations of contracts. People are tired of waiting. They are waiting months and months and months without breaking ground. I get the frustration because I've been waiting for something too for months and months, and you've already heard about it, so I'm not going to talk about it again. I get how they're feeling. The housing industry isn't going to change anytime soon. We have shortages on so many things. I have some contractor buddies that I get in a golfing league with every week, and I get to pick their brain about what's going on in their industry. I'm hearing things like breaker box shortages. As many as 18 weeks to get a breaker box. Do you believe it? How is that possible? Then we have concrete shortages. You cannot get concrete in a timely fashion in most cases. It's because of all the residential building. It's because China's doing their thing as well. There's shortages on that. We already knew about the lumber. It started coming back, but again, still seems to be a little bit short. There's copper shortages. So you name a piece or part of anything that's being built right now, there's shortages. You can't get anybody to do the work, and you can't get anybody to ship it anywhere. So if those things aren't available to get this job done, we're going to see more people fall out of their contracts, and they're just going to go after a resale home instead. That's going to make the market even tighter for those that are trying to secure their home when sellers aren't quite ready to sell yet. The other thing that we're starting to experience here too is unlicensed contractors. It seems to be popping up everywhere, and a handyman is not necessarily the right person for every job. They can be great for some jobs, if you want some painting done, some minor work, some trim work, stuff like that. But if you're getting into like AC changeouts and hot water tanks and things that might be a little bit more detailed with electric and plumbing, you might want to consider getting a professional. Because if something goes south later on and a licensed contractor didn't do it, you may not be covered by your insurance company. Check it, make sure you're covered. Now, one of the questions I get all the time is, what's the pricing like right now? We're going to talk about median pricing of homes in some of the major cities here in Southwest Florida. Now, a single family home in Cape Coral, the price right now has gone over $350,000 as the median price. It's coming up on $375,000 very soon. Fort Myers, it's almost $400,000 for their median home price for a single family. Go to Naples, you're over $600,000 for their median price. And lastly, and I'm only bringing this one up because people have asked about pricing and affordability and the ability to buy something in a price range. Lehigh Acres, it's under $200,000 for their median price of a single family home. Now, when we talk about these prices, we also have to understand why that is. You're going to have a price associated with each one of them. They each have something that another may not that has value. Cape Coral, for example, it's the waterfront wonderland. This is where if you're a water person, an outdoor person, somebody that likes to go fishing, kayaking, paddleboarding, boating, all those things that you're going to use these waterways, that's where you're going to want to be. And the more demand for those kinds of things is going to push the prices up. Those Gulf access properties also keep that price up. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing them at that almost 400 threshold that Fort Myers is at. Now, the reason Fort Myers is there is because they have the convenience of everything. Fort Myers has the ability to get down to the beaches, out to the interstate, to the airport, multiple airports. You get up and down to all the cities pretty quickly on I-75, and when you're on US 41, you have all the shopping and dining you can ask for. That's why those prices are up there. And also, in most cases, you're in a community. Communities offer homes that are going to be guided by HOAs. Those HOAs help keep the homes nicely kept, which then in turn keeps your values up. That's why you have $400,000 median home price. Naples goes without saying. That's just by way of being Naples. The name carries. People want to be associated with Naples. They like the extravagance of what Naples has to offer. And I got to tell you, I was down at Mercado the other night. You know, we had an evening out, had some dinner, did some dancing, had maybe a couple drinks, but the place was electric. Everybody was having a blast. It really was a great ambiance there, so I get why people would want to be there. But once again, it has its pros and cons like everywhere else. That price, though, is because you want the Naples name attached to your house. And lastly, Lehigh Acres. One of the reasons why their values are where they are is they are the furthest from the coast. And you might remember me saying previously, the closer you get to the water, the higher the price. Well, they're pretty far away from the water. So if you're somebody that's a water person, if you're somebody who wants to be close to the beaches, Lehigh Acres probably isn't for you. It's dry out there. You're going to have less of the coastal breezes because you're further inland. And there's a lot of vacant land there. A lot of different types of scrub pines and palmetto bushes that are on the vacant lots out there. So it's a very different feel. This is why I say to every single person I work with, drive the areas you're considering. Make sure you take it all in so you know what you're getting into. It's proving itself over and over and over. So please do that part of the process to make sure that you know what you're jumping into. Now we're going to touch the weather real quick, and no, we're not going to talk about the rainstorms and all that fun stuff. We already know about the lightning. We know about the hurricanes. But one of the things about Southwest Florida, because it's a tropical kind of feel here, there can be as much as a 10-degree difference in temperature in the wintertime here in Florida, from the North Florida area to the South Florida area. So if you're somebody that wants the warmth, no questions asked, you need to be in South Florida. Southwest Florida, the pace is a little bit more chill. The water is more calm than it is on the East Coast. So that's what you're getting by being on this coast. The other thing that's kind of neat that I watched these patterns and I did a little research on it, but since I have that golf league that I mentioned, I have to pay particular attention to what the weather's doing, especially around 5 p.m. because that's when we start. Well, if the winds are coming from the east going to the west, that means we're going to get the showers springing up in the evening on the coast, which is where the golf course is. So that can be a problem for me. Vice versa, if it's going west to east, then we know that those showers are going to be inland, kind of towards I-75. And believe it or not, that other league that I know somebody that's at the Eastwood Golf Course, and he was telling me they've been rained out almost every week all summer. So that's what can happen just by these upper level winds that come through. So if you really want to know and kind of time out the storms and when it's going to rain and where it's going to rain, just check the weather forecast and see which way the winds are blowing, and it'll tell you what to expect. One thing about Florida also with the weather is we're rarely over the mid 90s and rarely under the 60s. So if you're looking for those kinds of temperatures, maybe you have a health condition, maybe you just know that you don't want to freeze anymore, this is going to be the best climate anywhere in the country just because we're the furthest south. So if that's a thing that you're really into and wanting and having the sun almost every day of the year, then you need to get yourself down to South Florida. The other really odd thing that you'll see here in Florida is it will be raining when the sun is fully out, bright and shining. Yeah, a little odd. Happened today. I looked up in the sky, not a cloud. So where was it coming from? I don't know. But it happens. It's odd. And it will be something that you're going to be shaking your head about when you see it too. We're going to talk a little bit about the safety rating. Everybody wants to know, well, how safe is an area? Well, Florida, first of all, is the third most populated state in the country with over 21 million people here, with 1,000 a day still coming. I don't know where they're going. How can that be? I reported previously 950 a day through an article last year. Now it's 1,000 a day? I just don't know where they're going. Eventually, there's probably going to be enough weight in the state to just sink the whole thing. But hey, let's not go there. So then you start asking yourself, why are people coming to Florida? Well, a few things are obvious. Great weather, so you can be outdoors almost every day of the year. It is kind of like being on vacation all the time. So that's what we've got going for us. The beaches are literally everywhere. There's more beaches in this one state than there is in much of the country combined. So we are in a fantastic place for the vacation vibe. We also have spring training baseball with dozens of teams that call this home during that time. So if you're a baseball aficionado and want to get out there and check it out, you've got plenty of options to do so. If you're a water sport person, obviously, lots and lots of that. And state income tax doesn't exist. For all you business people who are trying to save a little bit of money, even the athletes that are coming down here, I'd like to point out maybe Antonio Brown and Tom Brady, since they're two of the bigger names that came in the last year or so. Yes, they're doing well. No, they're not my favorite team, but the money they make here now, they get to keep more of it. Now, Cape Coral in particular, when we're talking about safety, is considered the 5th safest. And when they did this study, they're figuring this safety rating based upon literally physical crime or financial issues. So this safety rating is not just about, am I going to be hurt if I go here, there, or somewhere else by somebody that is trying to rob me or take my things. That's not what this safety rating is about. It's part of it, but it also wants to put into context the unemployment, the income you might be earning, the rent you're going to pay. Is there insurance for you, whether you're employed or unemployed? Those are the kinds of things that go aside from the hate crimes that are pretty low here, almost non-existent. The violent crime, which we have very little of that as well. You'll see these ratings keep us at that 5th rating for a reason. And if we got rid of the financial side of it, we'd be at number 2 where we've always been. But since they want to take that into account for this particular chart, we're going to allow it and still see that Cape Coral offers a great place to live. Now, one thing that you might have heard about is that masks are back in play at school here in Florida. Yeah, my son's not thrilled about it, but he's following the rules. And I think they're supposed to be doing this for about 90 days just to try and get things back in check. As it is, obviously kids still going to school, still doing what they have to do. And the one thing about the Florida schools that may not have been pointed out before, but I want to make a really strong point about this, safety is at the top of their list. If you drive by a school, it doesn't look like what you may have grown up with. I know I didn't grow up like this. But these places are locked down. There are 6 to 8 foot high fences, maybe as much as 10, that go all the way around these properties. The gates are closed. There's one gate that's left open that has a guard shack. When you go to this guard shack, you're going to give your driver's license. They are then going to electronically scan the back of that license to make sure that you are the person that's pictured on that license before you can get in there for anything. That's picking up your kid for a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, if they're sick at the nurse, all those things that you're going to enter through those gates, you better have your license or you're not getting in. Now, if you hear planes and helicopters and things that sounds like they're flying really low at night and you hear it over and over and you're wondering what the heck is going on, are they looking for somebody? No, what they're probably doing is spraying for mosquitoes. Here again, it's tropical. When we get a lot of rain, we get mosquitoes. So the spraying is one of the ways they control it. They do it at nighttime so that people aren't affected by the spraying. You're inside, hopefully sleeping, and it gets to be applied to the areas it needs to be and hopefully eradicate most of those little suckers that want to bite on us. Now, yes, we are infamous for being bad drivers in Florida. You've heard this over and over and over. I see it daily. There's a lot of times I wish I had a demolition derby vehicle so that I could just jump in and take part and bounce people away when I'm ready. But unfortunately, I don't have that ability. But I just want to share one thing that I did notice the other day. And keep in mind, if you are driving, stop signs in Florida are optional. People don't think you really have to stop. The only time they actually do stop is when you're close enough to the stop sign that you might actually hit them. Otherwise, it's a slow roll and keep on going. If you're somebody that goes a little faster than you should, as you come up on a stop sign, pay attention to see if those wheels are still moving on that car or if they're staying in place. Otherwise, you might be sitting on the side of the road waiting for one of the public service people to come and write up a report for the accident. Now here in Cape Coral in particular, we do not have a lot of sidewalks and a lot of streetlights. There are some streets that literally are dark at night. I decided to take care of that problem for my house, and this is what I did. Yes, soffit lights all around my house. This helps light up the property, so if my son's out playing in the wintertime when we get dark at 5 o'clock, he's going to have the light to do it. And both myself and my neighbor have this done to our houses because the city wouldn't give us a street light unless we paid, I believe it was $250 for the light, and then pay a monthly fee to keep it running. So I chose not to do that. Instead, invest in my home so its value goes up in the future. Now the sidewalk part, you'll see in some areas they started installing more and more sidewalks, trying to help people get around the area. There's a lot of people that do get out for exercise, and maybe even the kids that are walking to school and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're growing with the community as it's filling in with this new construction. And that's when they're adding these sidewalks. So if you don't see it in your neighborhood, it could just purely be the fact that there's not enough population in that neighborhood yet to have it in there. But the one thing that's not going to change anytime soon is those wires in the air. That's where they're going to remain. It's too expensive to take them out of the air and put them in the ground after the fact. The only time you're going to see that here in Cape Coral is if you go into a gated community. They bury them up front, so you will never see the wires in the air in a gated community. One of the other things that you have to take into consideration is all the different wildlife you're going to see here in Florida. There are lots of different kinds. I've got a few to show you that I've captured recently. Yes, some of them are less harmful. Some of them may not be as sweet as they look, like these sandbill cranes. They will come after you if you get too close. The gators obviously don't want to be a part of what you think they want to be a part of. They usually run from you. And snakes, well, the black racers, they're the good guys. These ones, they will kill the poisonous snakes. So please spare them. If you don't like snakes, just kindly let them sit and go on their way. They're not going to bother you. They're just looking for a place to curl up and sleep. With all the oceans we have, there are some odd-looking creatures in there. And with our last storm that came through, this guy washed up on the shore, and I just couldn't resist to get a close-up of him because he was just really odd-looking. So if any of you think you know what he is, go ahead and comment down below because I'd be really interested in knowing a little bit more about that. Last thing I'm going to touch on is somebody had commented on one of the previous videos about our insurances, our flood insurances changing here going forward. It was going to get super expensive. No, it's not. October 1st, 12% of the people might have a $120 to $240 change per year on their policy. 68% are going to have almost no change, if any change at all. And the other 20%, they get a reduction. So there isn't any kind of sky is falling mentality about your flood insurance. There's going to be adjustments from time to time. Insurance companies do take on a lot of liability. Obviously, Florida is surrounded by water, so we will get flooding at times. But it's not such a huge problem that they're going to jack your rates up and take your insurance away. Somebody's out there trying to make you fearful. Surprise, surprise. It's not the case. So I've attached the article here. I can put the link down below to give you even more information. All right, so that's a little bit more that you might want to know about the challenges of moving to Florida. If you'd like more information about Florida, living in Florida, moving to Florida, or just general questions, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.